Is the input that I'm getting an anomaly? It happens so rarely, so maybe I'm overreacting. Is it a trend? Is it something that I should really keep an eye on and maybe try to change the behavior through an honest conversation, a vulnerable conversation? Or is this a law where I am deluding myself into thinking this person is going to change when in reality they probably aren't?
If you're a regular listener of this show and we suddenly didn't upload an episode tomorrow, that would be an anomaly. That would be really weird. You'd be like, what's going on? Is Kevin and Alan okay?
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1216. You don't want to be happy all the time. We talked about the difference between happiness and fulfillment. Today, for episode number 1217, happy Sunday. When is the right time to give up on someone? My favorite pizza place in the world, Alan, is one that's probably 15 minutes away from where Tara and I live. And a couple of weeks ago, we were going to get pizza. And you know how when you're talking about what you're going to eat for dinner earlier in the day, your mind is set. It's like, that's what we're going to get? Ooh, okay. All right, yeah, let me think on it. Let me think about what I'm going to get. And yeah, maybe I'll try something different. Probably not, but let me think about it.
I think that's more of you thing and I thing than most people.
Okay, fair.
Because we build our life. When we travel together, that's an FYI, you and I build our evening.
I have already determined that when I go to Florida in 2 weeks, I'm going to be eating a lot of tacos. I've already determined I need to find the best tacos. So and I've already found the closest gym too. So that's a little travel hack for me. But so Tara and I get to the end of the day. We call up this pizza place. No answer. It's like, interesting. Okay, let me wait a couple minutes. I'll wait a couple minutes, call back again. And it was early enough where, if they were super busy, we could wait a little while. So you call back 15 minutes later, nothing happens. Interesting. I don't know what's going on here. What's going on? Call back another 15 minutes, nothing. Now let's wait a half hour. We'll call again and see what happens. Nothing. We go on the website and we find out that they're closed because it was somebody's birthday or something. The reason I tell that story is because when do you stop calling? When do you say to yourself, you know what? They're probably closed. Maybe they're not open. How many times do you visit a restaurant and you get bad food, cold food, hair in your food? Remember, this could be a good story. Remember D'Angelo's down in that downtown plaza next to CVS?
Oh, yeah.
My friend and I used to go to this place, D'Angelo's, every, at least once a week, maybe twice a week. I used to get a chicken Caesar wrap. And when I tell you there was a hair in it every other time, there was just a large hair in it every other time. But I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying. Eventually it got to the point where I said, look, I can't do this anymore. This is disgusting. This is not healthy. And it's gross. Like this place should probably be closed down. So the reason I wanted to do this episode is because I think a lot of us, I think we wait a long time before we move on from someone or something. It doesn't have to be someone. And here's my thought, and this is kind of how I try to look at it. And Alan and I have had a lot of conversations behind the scenes because we have a large team and we're always figuring out, is this person right for the team? Is this person we're going to bring on right for the team? Whatever it may be. I kind of have 3 thoughts at all times, Alan. I didn't realize it until I thought about this episode. So I'm thinking in 3 ways. Number 1, this behavior is an anomaly. Number 2, this behavior is a trend. Number 3, this behavior is a law. So an anomaly, I'm very rarely late. Right? I'm not late very often because that's something I'm really good at. I'm punctual and I have trauma in the past from that. If I was late at my job, I got in a lot of trouble. So me showing up late is so much of an anomaly that I was 5 minutes late for our team call last Wednesday or maybe this Wednesday. And Alan was genuinely worried because I'm never late. So that's an anomaly. It's something that happens very, very, very rarely, and it surprises you. The trend is this has been happening for a while now, and it's become far more common than I would like to admit. So if you're calling up a friend and they're always canceling, you can kind of imagine the fact that, yeah, I could see them canceling. So I won't be surprised if they do. That's a trend. And then the law is it happens every time. It happens every single time. Every single time I'm supposed to go out with this person and hang out with them, they cancel on me. Every single time we do blank, my partner and I fight. Every single time I go to this D'Angelo's, I get a hair in my salad. Why do I keep going? If you want to figure out when to give up on someone, when to move away from someone, when to move away from something, I would ask yourself that question. Is the reason, or I guess, is the input that I'm getting an anomaly? It happens so rarely, so maybe I'm overreacting. Is it a trend? Is it something that I should really keep an eye on and maybe try to change the behavior through an honest conversation, a vulnerable conversation? Or is this a law where I am deluding myself into thinking this person is going to change when in reality they probably aren't? Can they change? Absolutely. Are you willing to be there to help them put in the work and give whatever amount of time that is? That's totally up to you. But I think this is a really good kind of framework of understanding where at least you have something to point at and some way to measure it.
This is, I really like the 3 buckets, man. Well done.
I'm a framework guy, and I kind of like wake up in the morning and I'm like, how do I design a framework? No, I learned most of my framework skills from you. So
I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed. This is a fun moment for me to have you come up with these 3 buckets because I love them all. They're very, very accurate, very, very useful.
Sure when we get off here, you'll find a way to add 5 more. 5 more buckets. The 8 buckets of relationships.
I'm trying to keep things, the 25 conscious love languages. I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible these days. And that's thanks to me learning some things from you. So number 1 is anomalies, which I live for. And I'll just share that. I think anomalies are where we learn. Anomalies mean there's something from the equation that you're missing. Anomalies mean that something doesn't add up. And there's something to learn. There's something you didn't know before. I believe true intelligence is one's ability to predict the future. So if Kev, you can predict that if you go to that D'Angelo's, you're going to get a hair in your, sub or whatever.
Caesar wrap.
Chicken Caesar wrap. Then that would be intelligence. The ability to predict the future accurately. Now, you can't ever predict it 100%. If you could, you'd make billions of dollars in the stock market. But you can look at data now, look at data in the past, and make a pretty good prediction of what's going to happen. I often talk about how I used to play blackjack, and you can count cards, and you can predict what cards are going to come, and that kind of thing. So that's number 1. Anomalies is something that doesn't fit the pattern. So Kevin being late, perfect example. It's like, something's wrong. Something's going on. When I call Kev, that's an anomaly. I very, very rarely call Kev. And so when I do, he knows something is burning down or I'm freaking out about something. Number 2 would be pattern. Patterns are, and so Christina, Kevin, and myself have a chief officers meeting every single week. We have, I think, 16 team members right now, and we have 25 departments. And we literally go through the entire business model from top to bottom. And we do this new game that I'm playing. I guess you could call it a game, but I'm really running this in my entire life. And it goes for the second bucket of patterns. Someone or something is either green and growing, yellow and coasting, or red and dying, period. And that's my new frame for life, where it's like the departments, we went through them. It's either a green up arrow, it's a yellow dash, basically coasting, like neutral, or it's a red X. And if it's a red X, it needs attention. Those are the fires that you have to put out. If it's, yellow and coasting, it needs some attention, but, nothing's growing or dying. It's just kind of coasting. It's just staying steady. And then green and growing is good. So eventually we want to have every department and every team member green and growing. And that's a constant process. It's a constant thing. And for the listeners, think about yourself. Think about your job. Think about your career. Think about your health and fitness. Think about your intimate relationship. Are they green and growing? Are they yellow and coasting? Or are they red and dying? And you kind of know. You intuitively, you can know. You can know that the trend is heading up or down or coasting. And so that's the second bucket, which is trends. Trends, I spend my whole life looking at trends. Trends in myself. Like for me, I struggle with punctuality.
Next Level University and Kevin is exactly where you need to be if you're a podcaster. When I first started out just a few months ago, I had no clue on the direction I was going. I was getting hustled by another company that was giving me not even close to the value that Kevin and Next Level U was giving me. They literally changed the trajectory of my podcast, have helped me out tremendously. They understand the clients. I promise you, you will not go wrong with dealing with Kevin and Next Level U. I'll see you there.
I have another trend. I'm reading a book called Essentialism in Book Club, and I was just actually preparing for book club earlier today, and he's talking about how you need a buffer. If you think something's going to take you 15 minutes, give yourself a half an hour. I'm not good at that because I'm very optimistic, and I'm also trying to get a lot done in a very short amount of time, so I'm always stretching. And so that's a trend. My trend is I tend to be optimistic with time. I tend to be late because of it. I need to break that pattern. But if I have 30 years of operating that way, it's going to be very difficult to change that. And that's why some things come so easy to Kevin and so difficult to me. And then there's certain things that come really easy to me that are really difficult for Kev. And that's true for all of us. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is laws. I spend my life studying laws. That's why I love this framework. All 3 of these buckets are like how I learn. What are the anomalies? What are the anomalies? What are the trends? And what are the laws? And do you know the difference? And that is literally, in a nutshell, how I've studied my entire life as a scientist, as someone who is constantly having hypotheses and testing their hypotheses about people, about the economy, about business, about what works and doesn't work. Growing NLU, what's working, what's not working, what are the trends, what are the anomalies? We had one episode with, 3,100 listens early on. I think it was like episode 40 or something, and we were like, whoa, what was that about? See, that's an anomaly. You got to learn from it. What was the difference? And then how do you double down on that? Trend lines, we're constantly tracking data at NLU. Listens are going up. Okay, why? Is it the titles? What are we getting better at? What do we need to improve? And then laws are something like, okay, if you put a word in the title that triggers a pain that they're in right now, they're more likely to click on the link. That's like a law. And again, how do you decipher between an anomaly, a trend, and a law? And that is where things get really blurry, and it's really challenging to know that. Gravity is a law, meaning it happens every time, no matter what. There's a lot of things that it's hard to figure out whether or not they're a law. And even more importantly, it's hard to figure out if they're a law in every circumstance with every person every time, because people are so different and circumstances are so different. And so just awesome episode, Kev. Strong work.
I appreciate it. It's I don't know, for some reason I just go like the food route. I just immediately, when I think of this framework, I think of food, because if there's a restaurant you have, or maybe this is even better, if there is somebody in your life that you never call because you do not trust that they'll pick up, that's kind of this. Like, if you call me, if Alan calls me, it'll be an anomaly if I don't pick up. I'm going to pick up. But I also might not be the best person for somebody else to call, because they might think to themselves, yeah, Kevin never picks up when I call him. It's a law. Like, Kevin doesn't pick up his phone during the day. Like, oh, maybe he's not the best person to call. But if you think of it from a restaurant point of view, why do you go to the same place so much? Because it's a law. You know the food is going to be good. When it's not good, it's an anomaly. It's like, that's so rare. It's so rare. I'm going to give it another shot. Somebody buys the restaurant, or somebody buys the company, or they buy the business, and the food starts going to crap. That becomes a negative trend. And then eventually you never buy it again, because you know it's a law that the food is no longer good. That's how I'm thinking of it here. Now, again, is it a law? Is somebody always going to let you down? Maybe not. This is a framework. It's not something necessarily that's, cut out of stone. But I can think of people that certain behaviors are an anomaly, certain behaviors are a trend, and certain behaviors are a law. I could bet money on it. I'd bet money on it. And that's how I think of it. If I would bet money on it, it's probably a law. If it's something that's slightly alarming to me, it's probably a trend. And if it's something that is an extreme surprise, it's an anomaly. And I think it's a really good way to look at it. Not just in relationships, but in everything. You can look at it in your own behavior. Is it an anomaly for you to take a day off from the gym? Okay. Is it a trend where you've taken 3 days off out of the last 7? Okay. That, like, you can look at it from multiple perspectives. As always, I think that's important.
And then the last piece here before we go is, how do you transform these laws of behavior, these patterns, these things that have always been true about you? The things that have always been true about you, maybe you don't try to change those. Maybe that's who you really are. The trends that are negative, you're going to want to shift those. And that's really what this podcast is. I mean, think about it this way, right? If you're a regular listener of this show and we suddenly didn't upload an episode tomorrow, that would be an anomaly. That would be really weird. You'd be like, what's going on? Is Kevin and Alan okay? I have one client who listens to us every single day. And one of the times when we uploaded late, she was like pissed. Like, didn't like it at all. Like,
Good.
You guys didn't get your episode done until 2. Yeah, exactly. Good.
Respect. I respect it.
Same. And it's that's the thing, is how do you identify the negative trends in your life, the negative anomalies in your life, the negative laws in your life, and how do you shift them and transform them into a more positive trend? And I think that a really useful tool is the green and growing, the yellow and coasting, and the red and dying, because of we've all been at a red light before where we're just stuck. And then yellow lights, you coast right through those or you stop, but coast right through those. Or green light, accelerate. It's green and growing. So we can all relate to that. And so hopefully this episode has something for you. But remember that green and growing, yellow and coasting, red and dying. If you keep going to the same person and it's constantly a red light, or the same restaurant and it's constantly a red light, or the same business and it's constantly a red light, we would all do better to be more intentional with our money and with our time and with our effort. Because, and I'm guilty of this too, this was a mirror episode for sure. I can't even tell you how many times I've given people the benefit of the doubt when honestly the trend was very clear.
I've been running this, I think, for a long time, just unconsciously. I'm always thinking about this. Always. And I think, again, that's why one of the reasons I have a very small circle is because I live my life this way. All right, we got to go because it's an anomaly for Alan to be late to a coaching call, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Next Level Nation, April 1st, 2023, live in Worcester, Mass. We're having Next Level Live. It's going to be $97 for a ticket. It will be a transformational experience. That is what we're going for, Alan and myself and the rest of the community. Tomorrow for episode number 1218, the number one story you're telling yourself. I'm excited to jam into that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
And we'll see you at the next level.